It is our responsibility as individuals to ensure our safety in times of crisis. Whether biological or man made, disasters fear no one. And as such, we must equip ourselves with factual information and preventive measures to aid us in preparation of what's to come. Join me, Rebecca Islao, as we tackle the importance of disaster management and awareness here in Be Safe. Today, we are focusing on one of history's most devastating man made catastrophes: nuclear energy disasters. From the notorious 1986 Chernobyl accident to 2011's Fukushima nuclear explosion, nuclear disasters had long been entrenched in a wide history of human and environmental loss. Before diving into the different ways we remain safe in such critical emergencies, we must first understand what truly makes nuclear energy disasters so destructive in the first place.
So what is nuclear energy? According to National Geographic, it is the energy in the core of an atom, also known as the nucleus, and can produce electricity when the energy is released from the atom or after undergoing nuclear fission. The machines that are able to control the production of electricity are called nuclear reactors or power plants. The electricity produced by nuclear energy powers different infrastructures like houses, schools, offices, etc. While nuclear power plants generally produce renewable and clean energy, the plant's operations can also leave behind radioactive waste. Radioactive material is toxic and can cause burns as well as increased risk of diseases. Any protective clothing, tools, and other equipment used by nuclear power plant workers are considered radioactive waste. Such radioactive wastes are long-lasting, which is why disposal of such items should be government regulated.
You may be wondering, how exactly do nuclear power plants work? Take into consideration the fact that power plants heat water to produce steam, and this steam then turns a generator, which then creates electricity. Now, when you look at nuclear power plants, we can see that this steam is made by splitting uranium atoms in order to create heat, which then turns the generators that create the electricity. Because of this method, nuclear power plants do not emit greenhouse gases, unlike other alternatives such as coal and natural gas, and therefore are not easily destroyed by natural calamities and do not contribute to climate change. The benefit of the latter is becoming more attractive as days pass, considering that our world today seeks to address global warming. Nuclear power plants also generate more jobs than any other form of energy production and have low operating costs. As we consider the many advantages to producing nuclear power, such as the fact that it is not only clean and efficient, but also cheap and job intensive, we must consider the disadvantages to it as well, wherein an accident at the power plant could release radioactive material into the environment. The nuclear meltdown would be catastrophic. The particles from this nuclear meltdown could be inhaled or ingested by people and animals, or it could be deposited into the ground. Large doses of this radioactive material are not only difficult to discard, but can also destroy living cells and cause mutations, illness, and death when exposed to in large doses. Because of this, only 4.4% of the world's energy is produced by nuclear power. Our world in data shows us the amount of nuclear energy generated by a country, where France, the United States of America, China, Russia, and Canada all produce relatively large amounts of nuclear power.
Now that we have discussed the scientific and demographic relevance of nuclear energy in our environment, let us now contextualize and understand how this energy resource can directly put our lives in danger. Starting off with risks, we have radiation contamination. Individuals who are situated near the vicinity of any nuclear power plant disaster are immediately exposed to threatening levels of chemical reaction. This causes various health effects ranging from short-term thermal injuries such as hair loss, lung inflammation, and blistering, to long-term illnesses such as thyroid cancer, acute radiation syndrome, and psychological trauma. Furthermore, other adverse risks such as loss of infrastructures, ecosystems, and disruption of income amongst nearby communities are also byproducts of nuclear energy disasters. These risks cannot occur without the present vulnerabilities that can worsen the severity of a nuclear disaster. These are as follows: residences, infrastructures, and ecosystems that live close to the location of the nuclear disaster. At risk individuals such as the elderly, individuals with chronic illnesses, and people with poor physical and mental wellness, as well as communities that lack access to proper disaster education. It is also important to stress the need to classify all the diverse nuclear hazards that affect the aforementioned vulnerabilities. Commonly, they are characterized as the following: bright flash, blast wave, fire and heat, electromagnetic pulse, or also known as EMP, and lastly, fallout. Exposures to these hazards are found amongst areas near bodies of water. This is because nuclear power plants are frequently built on the shores of rivers, lakes, and seas, for these provide cooling temperature to handle waste heat discharge. Essentially, this means that rural populations and infrastructures, as well as aquatic ecosystems, are the most exposed to nuclear hazards.
Before a nuclear energy disaster occurs, practices for preparedness should be taken up by individuals and their immediate households. 1. Create a family emergency plan and brief your family about its contents. 2. Gather equipment for an emergency supply kit with contents to secure doors, windows, and vents, like plastic sheeting, duct tape, and scissors. 3. Emergency supplies should be stored in rooms in the household with little to no windows. 4. Obtain public emergency information materials from the local nuclear power plant offices or local emergency service offices. 5. Sign up for emergency updates from your local emergency management agency. For authorities who manage power plants, the following are prevention and mitigation practices they can take up in order to prevent a nuclear disaster from occurring. 1. Stabilize the electricity supply system. 2. Store spent fuel in dry casks. 3. Install filtered vent systems. 4. Prevent sabotage at nuclear facilities. 5. Uphold treaties to prohibit military attacks. 6. Apply the process of vitrification. For more information, access the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute's website or contact your local government office.
During a nuclear energy disaster, you may be told to minimize the amount of outside air entering your home. You can do this by immediately closing doors and windows and turning off air exchangers and heat recovery units. Utilize your emergency kit, turn off appliances that are not in use, and make sure to tune in to the local radio or TV channels for advisories from authorities. Stay indoors until advised otherwise. If you find yourself outdoors during the disaster, take cover from the blast behind anything that might offer protection by lying down to protect exposed skin from the heat and flying debris. Avoid touching your face. If you find yourself in a vehicle during the disaster, stop safely and duck down within the vehicle. Maintain a distance of at least 6 feet between yourself and people who are not part of your household. And wear a mask if possible. If you are hurt or sick, immediately call a disaster hotline for rescue and response.
After a nuclear energy disaster, one must undertake certain necessary steps to ensure an adequate recovery phase. If you are caught outside and exposed to fallout, stay indoors and remove clothing that have been contaminated. Make sure to conceal all contaminated clothes in a plastic bag. Continue to disinfect your body in the shower using shampoo and soap. Do not use conditioner as it contains compounds that react with radioactive materials. If a shower is not accessible to you, wipe exposed body parts with a clean wet cloth, as well as avoid contact with your eyes, nose, and mouth. Do not use disinfectant wipes and hand sanitizers on your body. Only consume food and drinks that were kept inside a clean facility and were unexposed to fallout. For those with pets exposed to fallout, clean their bodies by brushing the coat as well as washing them with soap and water. Lastly, call and notify these emergency hotlines for immediate assistance, instructions, and announcements. National Emergency Hotline in the Philippines, 911, Philippine National Police Hotline 117 or 02-0722-0650. Philippine Red Cross 143 or 02-8527-8385-295. Contact numbers of your local barangay and municipality.
Even though nuclear disasters are uncommon in our country compared to typhoons or earthquakes, it is still crucial to learn about what the disaster risks are, as well as the appropriate emergency responses to undertake in the event of such circumstances. We hope that your understanding on the subject matter has broadened and that in the event that such tragedy occurs, your course of action is bettered by your disaster risk awareness. At the end of the day, the safety of yourself and your loved ones is of the utmost importance.